Alright, so today's top 10 list kicks off with The Darkest Hour. This one stars Emil Hirsch, taking place in Moscow. Two friends try to make a deal to sell software, but are too late. As they drink their sorrows away at the club, they run into a couple ladies and strike up a friendship. Suddenly, balls of light fall from the sky and invisible entities begin incinerating all human life around them. As the group try to run for safety, they discover that light and other electrical devices give the aliens away, turning them visible. If you like movies that focus on technology, alien invaders, and something that is a little off the beaten path, The Darkest Hour may be for you. It has a horrible Rotten Tomatoes score and it has plenty of haters, but something about this one endears itself to me and grabs 2011's number 10 spot. Check it out today on Amazon Prime. So yeah, 2011 is starting a little slow, but as we progress through the list, the movies will start to heat up. Drive Angry is nothing special, but it is a top 10 horror movie offering for 2011. Starring Nicolas Cage and Amber Heard. With personalities like that, I bet working behind the scenes on that movie got a bit interesting. Okay, so Cage plays John Milton, a resident of hell who escapes with Satan's gun known as the God Killer. Don't see why Satan needs a gun, but sure. He's on the hunt for the leader of a satanic cult who killed his family and now plans to sacrifice Milton's infant granddaughter. On the way, he runs into waitress Piper Lee, played by Heard, who happens to drive a sweet 1969 Dodge Charger. This one is action-packed and reminds me a little of Cage's work on Ghost Rider, culminating in an excellent boss fight at the end. Not the worst movie ever made, and if you want to give it a watch, head over to Amazon Prime.
Directly below one of Sydney's busiest train stations is the forgotten water resource that's causing all the controversy. Yeah, nothing stood out. To start off with, it was quite normal.
We've made it to our first found footage movie, and quite an underrated one at that. The Tunnel is an Australian horror flick that follows a film crew in search of an underground lake that can only be accessed through a subway tunnel system. This sparked interest from the film crew when they learned the government was interested in recycling this water to help with a drought, only to abandon the project with no explanation. Between the homeless encampments, World War II bunker systems, and an underground humanoid monster, The Tunnel is a great watch for any horror fan. If you haven't checked out this title yet, I highly recommend it, and you can watch it for free on Tubi. The Woman wasn't on my radar until recently, and it stands as a really good horror movie. Don't get me wrong, it's got some touchy subject matter and will not be everyone's cup of tea. Starring Pollyanna McIntosh, a very underrated actress in my opinion, she shines in this role as the last surviving member of a cannibalistic cult. She basically gets hunted down and trapped by a pure sociopath who uses her for his own pleasure. He almost sees himself as a god and wants the woman to be his project. The son in this movie gives off serial killer vibes as well. Needless to say, the woman eventually breaks her bonds and makes everyone pay for their transgressions. By the time we reach this climax, you're definitely rooting for her, which is strange because she literally is going after a 12-year-old. But that's how unlikable he is, almost like the horror version of Joffrey from Game of Thrones. Check it out for yourself on Amazon Prime.
Mark.
Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Grave Encounters.
Psychiatric hospitals like this were seen as sort of a dumping ground for embarrassing family members rather than a place that they could go to actually get help.
Number 6 is another found footage movie, the Canadian horror flick Grave Encounters. People are mixed about this one and the subsequent movies that followed, but for my money, the original is where it's at and makes for a fun watch. Keeping in mind that this film only had a $120,000 budget, it's safe to say that Grave Encounters is an overachiever. In this one, we follow a ghost hunting crew who investigate the Collingwood Psychiatric Hospital, notorious because of its resident doctor, Dr. Friedkin, who would perform experiments and lobotomies on the patients before killing them. This one goes off the rails quickly and breaks down into a fight for survival as members of the team end up missing and going insane. Give it a try today on Tubi. 2011 saw Wes Craven's masterpiece Scream have its fourth addition to the franchise. This one is a fun time. While introducing us to new characters to the Woodsboro universe, it also brings back fan favorites Sidney Prescott, Dewey Riley, and Gale Weathers. Taking place on the 15th anniversary of the original Woodsboro murders, two high school students are killed just as Sidney makes her way back into town to promote her new self-help book. Evidence is found in her car, and she becomes the prime suspect. By this point in the series, we know the premise, and the plot follows this with some interesting twists. Watch as new killers pick up the mantle of the original Ghostface while Sidney clears her name. Great action in this one, and if you're a fan of Scream, this one is sure to entertain. Scream 4 can be streamed on Amazon Prime.
The lucky few survive the disaster, and then one by one, death comes for them all.
2011 was a big year for follow-up movies to already established franchises, in most cases Part 4 or even Part 5 like this entry for Final Destination. Although being the fifth movie in the series, this one is billed as a prequel to the 2000s original. This one continues the story of cheating death and trying to outrun the reach of the Grim Reaper. Final Destination 5 does have some originality and explains how survivors must kill someone to steal the life that they have left. The ending is also really cool, as Part 5 comes to an end at the airport where we watch the original movie take shape before our eyes as the two movies intertwine in a satisfying way. View this title on Amazon Prime. This third installment of the Paranormal Activity series still held moviegoers' attention in 2011, as it raked in over $200 million at the box office. The creep factor is still strong with this third offering, going back in time and giving us some insight on the upbringing of sisters Katie and Christy. Basically, we learn that the women in this family are part of a witch's coven that brainwashes girls of childbearing age to have sons and then give them up after birth. Once the girls move in with their grandmother Lois, this realization is made in a truly horrifying manner. The third best horror movie of 2011 can be seen on Amazon Prime.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, just checking in. What you up to?
Number 2 gives us a classic vampire tale. Fright Night from 2011 is a fun time for sure and is a remake to the highly popular 1985 film, giving fans that much-loved nostalgia trip while also modernizing the story. This one has a loaded cast, including the late great Anton Yelchin, Colin Farrell, Superbad's Christopher Mintz-Plasse, Imogen Poots, Dave Franco, and a cameo performance from the original Jerry, Chris Sarandon. When a mysterious neighbor shows up, local high schoolers go missing. Soon the idea floats around that Jerry, the neighbor, is actually a bloodsucker. From here, pure insanity is unleashed, culminating in an epic vampire lumberjack match. But which side will prevail, human or vampire? To find out for yourself, you'll have to lay down some cash, because this one is available with video on demand.
It's not the house that's haunted. It's your son.
Without a doubt, grabbing the top spot for 2011 horror movies goes the highly popular Insidious. 2011 brought us the original, which would go on to be one of the biggest horror franchises of the decade. Directed by James Wan and starring Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne, this movie reimagined what horror movies would look like moving forward. When a married couple watch their young son slip into a catatonic state and become a vessel for demonic entities, they must wage war against them to save their son's soul. Calling in backup, they reach out to renowned demonologist Elise Rainier and her paranormal investigators Specs and Tucker. From astral projection to spiritual purgatory, from seances to memory suppression, and an unholy battle for the ages, Insidious stands alone as the best horror movie from 2011 and definitely a contender for the best of the 2010s. Find this one for free on Tubi. Alright, horror fans, that wraps up this edition of the Horror Rewind, where we take a trip down memory lane to revisit the best horror movies each year had to offer. If you like this content, check out some of my other Horror Rewind videos. If you like the world of horror like me and want to join our community, hit that subscribe button and leave a like and a comment. This is Planet Phobia signing off, and as always, wishing you good luck on your horror journey.